We've all been there, staring at a blank page, a quiet room, or an overwhelming to-do list, desperately hoping for a stroke of genius to strike. The pressure to generate the next big idea or to solve a complex problem creatively can feel paralyzing. And yet, some people seem to tap into that brilliance over and over again. Is it talent? Is it luck? No, it's process. It's mindset. It's purpose. The ability to generate your best ideas doesn't come from magic. It comes from intent. This sermon, we're going to break down how ideas are born, nurtured, and brought to life through clarity, purpose, collaboration, and action. And we'll do it by starting with why, when it comes to generating your best ideas, you have to start with one fundamental truth. Clarity of purpose is your greatest asset, because when you know why you're doing something, every thought that follows aligns itself around that central mission. The biggest ideas in the world, the ones that shape industries, shift culture, and change lives, don't come from random flashes of brilliance. They come from people who are deeply rooted in why they're doing what they're doing. That purpose becomes the fuel for creativity. Think about it. When you're working without a clear purpose, ideas feel scattered. You try to please everyone, solve every problem, or just come up with something that sounds cool. But when you're anchored in your why, your ideas become focused. They have direction. They have heart. That's where the difference is made. Because ideas that are rooted in purpose connect with people. They resonate. Let's take an example from the business world. Steve Jobs. His purpose wasn't to build computers. His purpose was to challenge the status quo and think differently. That's why Apple's ideas didn't just feel like products. They felt like movements. The innovation wasn't accidental. It was built on a foundation of purpose. Now, your why doesn't have to be revolutionary to be powerful. It just has to be real. Maybe your why is to help people feel seen. Maybe it's to simplify chaos. Maybe it's to bring beauty into a world that feels mechanical. Whatever it is, owning it gives you clarity, and clarity is the birthplace of breakthrough ideas. Here's the second thing. When you start with why, you create emotional buy-in with yourself. That might sound strange, but hear me out. How many times have you set a goal or tried to solve a problem and you just couldn't stay motivated? The idea was technically good, but something didn't click. That's because it wasn't connected to something deeper. It wasn't plugged into your internal power source. But when your idea is born from your why, it energizes you. It sustains you. You're not chasing external validation. You're chasing alignment. Now, let's talk about resistance, because whenever we try to be creative or think outside the box, there's a voice in our head that says, this won't work, or you're not ready, or someone's already done it better. That voice is loud when you don't have a clear why, but purpose has a way of silencing that inner critic. When your intention is bigger than your ego, the fear loses power. And this isn't just feel-good philosophy. It's backed by science. Neuroscience shows that when we engage in meaningful work, our brains produce more dopamine. That's the feel-good chemical that drives focus, resilience, and momentum. So when you're doing work connected to your why, your brain literally becomes a better environment for ideas to grow. And another key to unlocking great ideas through purpose is storytelling. When you know your why, you naturally start framing ideas in a way that communicates meaning. You're not just pitching a solution, you're telling a story about what matters. And that story is what people remember. That's what makes an idea stick. So if you're feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or uninspired, don't just try to force a better idea. Instead, ask yourself, why does this matter? Who am I trying to help? What impact do I want to make? The second step in generating your best ideas is creating a space where curiosity is safe. Let's think about that for a moment. Most of us don't lack creativity, we lack permission. Permission to wonder, permission to explore, permission to not have the answer right away. And that kind of permission only comes when we're in an environment where we don't feel judged for asking questions, for thinking differently, or for offering something that might sound crazy. Look around most workplaces, most classrooms, most social environments, and you'll see the opposite of what fosters great ideas. You'll see pressure to conform, perform, and impress. You'll see people keeping their heads down, afraid of saying something wrong. In those spaces, innovation dies. And when innovation dies, progress stalls. That's why safe spaces aren't just about comfort. They're about courage. They give people the courage to wonder out loud, to connect dots no one else sees, to throw something wild on the table and say, what if? And here's the thing, what if is where every big idea starts. Think of the best ideas in your own life. They probably didn't come while you were under scrutiny or fear. They came when you were relaxed, supported, or in a flow state. Maybe you were walking. Maybe you were in a conversation with a trusted friend. Maybe you were journaling without anyone watching. Those are the spaces where creativity breathes. That's not coincidence. That's psychology. In fact, research shows that psychological safety is one of the most important predictors of creative output in teams. When people feel safe to be themselves, to challenge assumptions, and to share without fear of humiliation, they produce more ideas. Not just more, but better, because they're not filtering their thinking through fear. They're letting ideas live in their raw, unpolished form, exactly how they should start. That's something Simon Sinek talks about often, the need to lead with empathy and to create environments where people feel they belong. When we feel safe, we contribute more of ourselves. We take risks. And risk-taking is at the heart of innovation. But this doesn't just apply to group dynamics. It applies to your relationship with yourself. Are you creating a safe space internally, or are you immediately dismissing every idea that pops into your head with, that's dumb, or that's not realistic? Your inner dialogue shapes your creative process more than you realize. One powerful way to shift this is to practice curiosity without judgment. When an idea surfaces, instead of asking, is this good? Ask, where could this lead? Give your ideas the room to grow. Don't rush to categorize them. Don't rush to monetize them. Let them breathe. You can also design your physical and digital environments to encourage creativity. Create a space that feels inspiring, whether that's a whiteboard, a sketch pad, a calm playlist, or a daily walk. Keep idea capture tools handy. Use voice notes, sticky notes, a journal, whatever works, because ideas are like sparks. They come quickly and they vanish just as fast if we don't honor them. And finally, recognize that creativity feeds on diversity of thought. Invite in perspectives that challenge your own. Talk to people outside your field. Read something that contradicts your worldview. The third principle in generating your best ideas is understanding the power of clarity over chaos. Ideas need structure to grow. Creativity might begin in the messy, spontaneous corners of the brain, but to turn an idea into something meaningful, something you can act on, you need to give it direction. You need clarity. And clarity doesn't come from magic, it comes from intention. Simon Sinek often talks about starting with why. Why is this idea important? Why does it matter to you or to someone else? When we start with why, we strip away distraction, we get to the essence, we move from noise to purpose. And once you're anchored in purpose, your mind stops racing in circles, it starts moving forward with focus. And often that process begins by asking the hard questions. What am I trying to solve? Who am I trying to help? What emotion do I want this to create? Too often we try to generate great ideas without defining our intention. We brainstorm without a compass. We confuse productivity with purpose. And that's how we end up with half-formed thoughts that sound good but feel empty. When you don't know your why, your ideas don't know where to go. Now, clarity doesn't mean perfection. It doesn't mean having the full picture before you begin. What it means is that you give yourself a North Star, a sense of direction. That could be a problem you care deeply about, a story you feel called to tell, a need you see in your community. Once you lock onto that, ideas start aligning, patterns emerge. Focus replaces overwhelm. Here's a simple exercise. Take one of your scattered ideas and ask yourself 3 times, why does this matter? Keep going until you hit something that stirs you emotionally. That's your root. That's the clarity you need. Because when you tap into something that emotionally resonates, the brain kicks into creative problem-solving mode. You're no longer trying to force inspiration. You're following a thread that already matters to you. This is why Simon emphasizes mission so often. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And the same applies to your own ideas. You'll invest more energy, more time, and more heart into something when you're clear on its deeper purpose. Clarity also helps filter distractions. When new, shiny ideas come in, and they will, you'll be able to ask, does this align with my purpose, or is it just noise? Without that clarity, you'll chase every possibility and end up exhausted with nothing to show for it. One more thing. Clarity invites collaboration. When you can clearly articulate what you're working on and why others want to help, they see the vision, they understand your passion, and sometimes it takes just one person believing in your clarity to amplify your idea tenfold. Generating your best ideas doesn't mean having more thoughts, it means having the right ones. And the right ones come from slowing down long enough to get clear on your why, clear on your purpose, clear on the impact you want to make. Because clarity isn't just a tool, it's a creative superpower. Great ideas don't just happen in your head. They happen in conversations. Collaboration is one of the most underestimated sources of creativity, and yet it's one of the most powerful. You tend to think that coming up with brilliant ideas is a solo act, something we do in isolation, with headphones on and distractions off. But the truth is, the best ideas often come from connection, from dialogue, from the vulnerability of putting your thoughts out there before they're fully formed. Simon Sinek often talks about how leadership isn't about being in charge, it's about taking care of those in your charge. And in the same way, idea generation isn't just about protecting your own concepts. It's about contributing to a space where ideas can grow, evolve, and inspire others. Ideas thrive in environments of trust. And trust is built through open communication. When you share your idea, even in its raw form, with someone you trust, it does something important. It breathes. Just it takes its first breath outside your mind. And that breath can lead to perspective. Maybe the person you're talking to sees a blind spot you missed. Maybe they validate something you weren't sure about. Or maybe they say, what if? And spark a completely new direction. That's the beauty of collaboration. It multiplies your thinking. But collaboration takes humility. You have to be willing to let go of the need to be right, to be perfect, to have all the answers. You have to understand that your idea might be the seed, but it won't flourish if you're not open to watering it with other people's insights. Ego suffocates creativity. Curiosity fuels it. This is why Simon is such a powerful advocate for curiosity in leadership. He says it all the time. Leaders must ask more than they tell. That same philosophy applies to creativity. Ask more. Invite more. What do you see that I don't? How does this sound to you? What's missing? These questions open the door to innovation. Another incredible thing about collaboration is that it gives your idea legs. It takes it beyond your imagination and into the real world. You might have the spark, but someone else might have the strategy. Someone might see the audience you didn't think about. Someone might have the resource, the connection, or the technical know-how to help you move it forward. You're not meant to do it alone. And collaboration doesn't always have to be formal. Sometimes it's just saying your idea out loud at lunch. Sometimes it's a late night text thread with a friend who just gets you. Sometimes it's asking your kid what they think and being open to the simplicity of their genius. The goal isn't to create a committee. It's to create a feedback loop, a circle of trusted perspectives that keep your idea accountable to its purpose. Here's what's also amazing. When you collaborate, you not only generate better ideas, you grow as a person. You become a better communicator, a better listener, and a better leader. You learn to hold space for differing views, to discern without dismissing, and to recognize that your idea doesn't have to lose value just because someone else helps shape it. In fact, it often becomes more valuable because of that. We live in a culture that praises the solo genius. But if you look behind every great idea, there's a team, a conversation, a moment where someone said yes and, or have you thought about? That's where magic happens. So if you're sitting on an idea, wondering if it's ready, start talking about it. Share it. Invite feedback. Don't protect it in isolation. Let it be challenged. Let it evolve. because an idea kept in silence is just a thought. But an idea shared has the power to spark something extraordinary. Ideas are fragile in their early stages. They need the right environment to grow, an environment of safety, curiosity, and most importantly, consistency. That's why one of the most crucial habits you can build if you want to generate your best ideas is to develop a consistent creative routine. Now, that might not sound exciting, routine rarely does, but it's in the repetition that greatness begins to form. Sinek teaches us that consistency is one of the core behaviors of great leadership. It's not what you do once that matters, it's what you do every day. The same is true with creativity. It's not the occasional bursts of inspiration that lead to breakthrough ideas. It's the steady, disciplined commitment to show up even when you don't feel like it. Think of your brain like a muscle. You don't get stronger by lifting weights once a month. You get stronger by showing up to the gym again and again, even on the days it's hard. The same goes for your creativity. You become more creative by practicing creativity regularly. That could mean journaling every morning. It could mean setting aside 20 minutes every evening to brainstorm. It could be something as simple as taking a walk every afternoon without your phone and just thinking. What matters is that it's consistent and that it's protected. Because here's the truth. Life will always try to steal your creative time. Urgency will always push it to the bottom of the list. So if you don't guard it, you'll lose it. You'll wake up one day and wonder why the ideas that once flowed feel harder to find. It's not because they're gone. It's because you stopped creating space for them to arrive. Simon often talks about the difference between intensity and consistency. Intensity is sprinting hard once. Consistency is showing up every day. You don't have to write a book in one sitting. You don't have to reinvent the wheel every morning. You just have to be faithful to the process. Small daily disciplines compound into extraordinary results, one idea at a time. Another key to a creative routine is making it sacred. Treat your idea time like an appointment with your highest self, because that's what it is. It's not a luxury, it's not optional, it's part of your growth, your purpose, your leadership. Don't let the world's noise drown out your inner voice. Silence, solitude, and structure. Those three ingredients can do more for your creative energy than any life hack ever will. And here's the powerful part. When you make creativity a habit, your brain starts to trust you. It begins to show up for you. You train it to think differently. You build pathways that allow ideas to flow more easily. And suddenly, inspiration doesn't feel random, it feels reliable. You go from waiting on a breakthrough to becoming the kind of person who generates breakthroughs. This is something most people misunderstand. They think the best ideas just happen, that they strike like lightning. But if you ask any great thinker, they'll tell you they earned their ideas through consistent effort, through daily engagement, through a process that invites creativity instead of hoping it shows up. Simon teaches that when people feel safe, they can be vulnerable. And when they can be vulnerable, they can truly lead. The same goes for ideas. When you create a safe, consistent routine, you give your ideas a place to exist without judgment. You allow your mind to play, to explore, to connect dots it wouldn't otherwise connect. You take the pressure off being brilliant and instead focus on being honest. And that's where the best ideas come from, not pressure, but presence. So if you're serious about unlocking your best ideas, stop waiting for the perfect moment. Create a routine that supports them. Carve out time for your thoughts to surface. Trust that the process works, even when the results aren't instant. Because the truth is, ideas don't just happen to you, they happen through you. And that means you have to show up for them.